हेलो बच्चों, कैसे हो? आपका स्वागत है त्रिपाण स्टडी सेंटर में। आज जो हम करने जा रहे हैं क्लास 12 एनआईएस बोर्ड का जो है चैप्टर नंबर 40 ज्योग्राफी का, जिसमें आज हम करेंगे बायोस्फीयर यानी जैव मंडल जो है 14वां चैप्टर भूगोल का। काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण है ये टॉपिक, हर एक बच्चों के लिए महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा जिनके सिलेबस में बायोस्फीयर है, ठीक है। और ये इम्पोर्टेंट और भी रहेगा क्योंकि जो बच्चे कंपटीशन की तैयारी कर रहे हैं उनके लिए भी ये सिलेबस को समझना काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा। लेकिन आपको पता है, चैप्टर स्टार्ट करने से पहले एक बात जो मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, जिसको आपको सोचना भी चाहिए, विचार भी करना चाहिए और अमल भी करना चाहिए, वो ये है कि जब भी वीडियो देखिए पूरा देखिए, क्योंकि अधूरा जानकारी सदैव खतरनाक होता है। साथ में एक इम्पोर्टेंट बात ये भी रहता है, अगर आप पहली बार वीडियो देख रहे हो तो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलना, क्योंकि दोस्तों लाइक कीजिएगा तो बनाने वाले का मनोबल बढ़ता है, सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा तो इससे ये होता है कि जब भी मैं कोई वीडियो डालूंगा उसका नोटिफिकेशन आपको समय रहते मिल जाएगा। और देखिए, शेयर का मतलब ये होता है कि आपके थ्रू ना जाने किन बच्चों को हेल्प मिल जाए, ये आप भी नहीं जानोगे, इसलिए जो है आप शेयर जरूर करो, ठीक है। व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस पे भी लगाओ दोस्तों। एनआईएस सेंटर जो कई मानने में बहुत से बच्चों के लिए हेल्पफुल है, चाहे वो 8th क्लास हो, 9th 10th 11th 12th हो, चाहे वो एनआईएस बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, ठीक है, चाहे बीए एमए के बच्चे हो, सभी क्लासों के लिए कुछ ना कुछ जो है त्रिपाण सेंटर में उपलब्ध है। तो इसलिए आपके लिए ज़रूरी है कि आप सब्सक्राइब करके इसको चैनल को जो है सेव कर लो, नहीं तो बाद में अगर रिसर्च करोगे तो शायद आपको ये चैनल प्राप्त ना हो। तो इसलिए सोचना नहीं, विचार नहीं करना है, सब्सक्राइब करके जो है अपने पास सेव करना है। दोस्तों ये तो बात था आपके लिए, लेकिन आप देखते हैं हमारा आज टॉपिक क्या है। द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है ग्लोबल क्लाइमेटिकल चेंज। देयर इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट है ग्लोबल climatic change. What do you mean to the here a global climatic change? We have a read under to bio-geochemical, a cycle that for the last billion year or so, Earth's atmosphere and the hydrosphere has been to the composed of approximately there is some balance of chemical component in the living with the today. You know that there is an important point here. The Earth's atmosphere and the hydrosphere has been composed of approximately the same balance of chemical components we live with today. The Earth has a unique mechanisms for the stabilizing and controlling the global climate. That is important. The Earth has a unique mechanism for the stabilizing and the controlling the global climate, and this mechanism are flowing. The mechanism is the most important point. Let's see the mechanism here. The first mechanism, the plant and animal balance to the carbon dioxide level of the atmosphere, which is a twin act of global thermostat. There is an important here, plant and animal balance to carbon dioxide level of the atmosphere, which is the twin act of global thermostat. It means these elements control the temperature balance within the optimum limit. There is important. It means these elements is a control the temperature balance within the optimum limits. And the water bodies play the important role in the regulating global climate. The water bodies play the important role in a regulated global climate. In recent year, the rapidly growth of human population, the rate at which we consume the earth as a resource, the extravagant lifestyle, etc., the lead to the subcontinent increasing there is a carbon level of atmosphere, which has accelerated the process of climatic change. That is important here. Let us discuss some of the process affecting the climatic change here. The first here, greenhouse effect and global warming. There is an important here, greenhouse effect and global warming. The global warming refers to the gradually rise of the atmospheric temperature and consequent change in the radiation balance, mainly due to human action. There is an important here, change in the radiation balance is mainly due to the human action leading to the climatic change at different levels. The local, regional and global. Local, regional and global here, as percent is estimate, it is the has been to form that is the surface air temperature. Over to the past 100 year has been increasing by about 0.5 Celsius to 0.7 Celsius. Do you know why it is happening? And this due to the greenhouse effect. Two has been better understand about the global warming. we shall know that is the functioning of greenhouse in the see the box. That is important here, working of greenhouse here. So here is the working of the greenhouse. The important here, working of greenhouse. In cold countries, a greenhouse is a mean of plants, where a total heat, especially during the winter season, is not sufficient to support a plant growth. The transparent wall and roof of the greenhouse are such that these allow to the visible sunlight to enter but prevent the long wave radiation to go out. Thus, the sunlight is absorbed by the soil and structure of the greenhouse. It is re-emitted as the heat which cannot be passed through the glass. The amount of energy in the greenhouse thus increasing until it is the temperature is high enough for the slight leakage of heat through the glass to be a take away as such a energy as a get in a sunlight. There is an important here, the slight leakage of the heat through the glass to be take away as much energy as get in a sunlight. Consequently, the wall or roof or emit absorb the radiation into the house, and thus during the day and time infrared radiation pass into the greenhouse and warm the atmosphere and the ground on which there is a greenhouse stands. The coating of glass with a non-heat radiation film transparent to the sunlight further as a maximize heating effect of the radiation. That is the most important point here. Therefore, if our earth has become a greenhouse, then there are a ton of gases which act like the glass panel of greenhouse, allowing the sun as a ray to the pass through put up preventing the heat from the escaping into the outer space and thereby the warming the atmosphere. This is happening due to the deforestation and industrialization. And these gases are carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane CH4. Nitrous oxide is NX, NOx, and there is a chlorofluorocarbon CFC. And then as now as the greenhouse gases. Out of these four gases, carbon dioxide contribute about 55%. The carbon dioxide contribute about the 55%, and chlorofluorocarbon contribute about 24%, and methane about 15%, and nitrate oxide about 6% to about to the heating of the atmosphere. Do you know that the source of these gases? There is a most important question. Do you know that the source of these gases? So these gases is mainly is here burning of fossil fuel and firewoods. The burning of fossil fuel and firewood, a large fleet of the automobiles, a number of factories emit to the carbon dioxide. The growing of paddles, livestock and waste dumps and coal mining are the major source of methane. You know that there is an important point here. The growing of paddies, livestock and waste dumps and the coal mines are the major source of methane. The use of the aerosol as the coolant and refrigerator and air conditioning is a device release of chlorofluorocarbon. The important point here. Aerosol is a coolant and refrigerator and air conditioned device release of chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbon is the CFC into the atmosphere. The nitrous oxide is mainly emitted from to the chemical industries and due to the deforestation and contained agriculture practice. Construction of greenhouse in the temperate region help the plant is a protections and the ecologically balance, whereas the concentration of greenhouse gas on the earth as a atmosphere upset the earth as biological system. The next here, consequence of greenhouse effect. There is a consequence of greenhouse effect. There is an important here. The first point consequence here, it is estimated that if the present rate of increasing of carbon dioxide CO2 the level or continues, it is with the result in the rise of atmospheric temperature by 2 Celsius to 3 Celsius by end of 21st century. There is an important point here. It is similar that if the present rate of increasing in a CO2 level continues, it will be a result in a rise of atmospheric temperature by 2 Celsius to 3 Celsius by end of 21st century, and this will be result in the recedings of many glaciers, melting of ice caps in the polar region, and disappearance of deposit of ice on the other part of the world in a large scale. According to the estimate, if all the ice on the earth would be a melt, about a 60 meter of the water would be added to the surface of all ocean and low lying coastal area. A rise in the sea level of only 50 to 100 centimeter caused by the global warming would be flood low linings of area of the world such as Bangladesh, the West Bengal, as well as the densely is populated coastal cities from the Shanghai to the San Francisco. There is an important point here. The third point is important, but first of all, our second point here, because of increasing of concentration of carbon dioxide and due to the much of warmer tropical ocean, there may be occur a more cyclone and hindrance. Earlier snow melt in the mountain will be case a more flood during the monsoon. According to the United Nations Environmental Programs UNEP, the National Environmental Program here UNEP, with within about the three is a decade rising level of sea will be able to and flood coastal cities like Mumbai, Boston, Asitagang and the Melina. There is an important point here. The third is important here. A sign increase in a global temperature can be addresses affect the world food production, and thus the wheat production is zone in the northern latitudes will be safety to the north of temperate latitude. And the fourth point is important also. The biological productivity of the ocean would be also decreased due to the warming of the surface layer. The biological productivity of the ocean would be also decreased due to the warming of the surface layer, and which is a turn to reduce the transport of nutrients from to deeper layers to the surface by vertical circulation. That is important. An important point is arrive here control and remedials of measuring of greenhouse effect. So here come to the control and remedials measure of greenhouse effect. The following measuring may be adopted to reduce the ever increasing greenhouse effect. You know that the measuring may be adopted to reduce the ever greenhouse as effect here. The first here, carbon dioxide is a concentration can be reduced by the drastic cut in the consumption of the fossil fuel in the highly developed and industrialized countries like USA and Japan, and the developing country like China and the India. That is important here. Carbon dioxide concentration can be reduced by drastic cut into the consumptions of fossil fuel in the highly developed and industrialized is a country like USA and Japan, and developing country like China and India. The second here, scientific effort should be made to be develop a alternative efficient fuel. The scientific effort should be made to be developed is alternative efficient of fuel. The methane may be a substitute for the petroleum, and development of hydroelectric and thermal power are better alternative. The development of hydroelectrics and thermal power are better alternative. That is important here. The third point is also important. There should be a restricted on the emission of the dangerous CO2 and CFC, and there is NO2 from to the factory and automobile. There is an important point here. There is a very dangerous carbon dioxide and chlorofluorocarbon and NO2 too. There is a NO2 is most important air factories and automobiles here produce. And fourth, they are limiting their drives today as a gas cities can be another option, or cities like Singapore and the Mexico and flowing their practice. And the fifth point here, in the tropical and subtropical country, the solar energy may be developed as on the alternative to the fossil fuel. There is an important point. Tropical and subtropical country, their solar energy may be developed as the alternative to the fossil fuel. And sixth point is also important here. Biogas plant should be used, which is another source of the conventionally is energy for a domestical use. There is an important here. Biogas plant should be used, which is another source of conventionally is energy for a domestical use. Enhancing to the aerations will be contain reduce the CO2 level, thereby decreasing the greenhouse effect. That is an important point. The B point here, ozone layer or depletion. There is an important here, ozone layer depletions. Before discussing about the problem of ozone layer is depletions, we should be now about the ozone and the ozone layer. Ozone is a form of oxygen that has a three atoms, CO3. Rather than the more common two atoms is O2. There is an important here, ozone is a O3 and there is atom is a 2. It is created in the upper atmosphere by the action of the solar radiation on oxygen molecules. As far as it is a position is a concerned, it is found in the form of thin layer in the stratosphere between to the 15 to 48 kilometer. About 90% of the all atmospheric ozone is found in the layer. Ozone constitutes only less than 0.002% of the volume of atmosphere. However, it is a role is a very critical as far as living on the earth as a concerned. It is strongly absorb ultraviolet radiation for the sun. Ultraviolet radiation is biologically destructive in many ways. There is an important here. The ultraviolet radiation is biologically destructive in many ways. It is a skin cancer and cataract suppresses there is a human immune system. There is important here ultraviolet radiation, the causing of skin cancer and cataract and suppresses there is a human immune system. Damages there is yard to the many crops described their aquatic food chain by the killing of microorganisms on the ocean surface and many other negative effects which is still is undiscovered. There is an important point here for the exam view. This is happening due to the content of recent human activity which have injected contain a chemical in the stratosphere which consume ozone and the reduce it is a concentration. Depletion is a many case by the chlorofluorocarbon, CFC as a halogens, methyl chlorofluoro and the carbon tetrachloride. And these chemical substances are mainly either as chlorine or bromine which can be react the stratosphere and the catalytically is a break down to the ozone into the oxygen. Chlorofluorocarbon are the odorless and no flammable and no corrosive and the non-toxic. For this reason, is a scientific originally is believed chlorofluorocarbon could not be possible have any effect of the environment. There is an important point here. Note down the chemical substances mainly either to the chlorine and bromine, which can react to the stratosphere and catalytically break down ozone into the oxygen. And chlorofluorocarbon is a odorless, non-flammable, non-corrosive, and non-toxic. And for these reasons, scientists originally believe chlorofluorocarbon could not be possible as be any effect of the environment. There is a wrong things here, and that is it is a widely used of refrigerator and the air conditioning as a form of plastic manufacturing and the aerosol spray. There is an important point. Chlorofluorocarbon is the most dangerous here, but scientific there is a call to the belief there is could not a possible have any effect on the environment in possible here. Not only is the zone layer is a thinkings in the some place, it is a temporarily disappearance. A hole in the layer has developed over to the Antarctic sign 1979, and that hole has persisted for a long and the longer time every year. In 1988, on a zone is a hole, there is a was the found over to the Arctics for the first time, and it is a two has lasted long and the longer each year and then there is a important. Can we prevent this disaster? Can we prevent this disaster? It is a need or contain action both at individual as well as the governmental level. Since the last two is a decide, contain or action has been to imitated at a global level. Among these is the Montreal Protocol of 1987 and London Conference of 1992 are the important. In both this is a conference, it was decided that the devolved country would be totally banned of chlorofluorocarbon production by 2000, and the developing country by the 2010 AD. Even it is assembly flow to the status is implemented by all the 150 countries, including India, and the who are the signatory to the Montreal Protocol. Even then, to chlorofluorocarbon or chlorine shall be continue their influence of another 100 years, and therefore all over to the world research efforts are continuing for the development of the constitutive of the chlorofluorocarbon as a is a coolant for the refrigerator and air conditioner. The next key point is the most important here, acid rain. The acid rain is the most important here. The term acid rain refers to the deposition of the wet or dry acidic material from to the atmosphere on the earth as a surface. Throughout the most acoscopy is associated with the rainfall, the pollutant may be fall on the earth as a surface either in the form of snow, shadow of fog in the dry form of the gas or particulate of matter. Sulfuric acid and the nitric acid is considered as the principal agent responsible for the acid rain. The important point here, sulfuric acid and nitric acid is considered as the principal agent responsible for the acid rain. But the major is a culprit are human beings. There is an important point here. The major culprit is are human beings. The smoke emit from to the industry is a major source of sulfur dioxide, whereas smoke emitted from to the motor vehicle in their major source of nitrogen oxide. The important point here, the smoke emitted from to the industry is their major source of sulfur dioxide, whereas to the smoke emitted from to the motor vehicle is the major source of nitrogen oxide. And this emissions is a mix with atmospheric moisture from to the sulfuric acid and nitric acid, which the sonars their later is a precipitate on the earth is a various form. The important point here, acidity is the measuring on the pH scale based on the relative concentration of is a hydrogen ion. The scale ranges from to 0 to the 14, where is the lower and representing extremely acidic and the upper index extremely alkaline. To see diagram as I started the earlier, acid and rain is associated with their various form of precipitation. It will look at the rainfall in the clean and dust-free air. A pH value of variant between to the 5.6 to the 6, which is the highly acidic in the nature. 5.6 and 6 there is the slightly acidic of the nature, highly there is a acidic nature here. And wherever there is a where their pH value is below to 5.6, they are dangerous because of noticeable. That is the most important here. Here show the pH scale that increases acidic here. The 0 to the here or 6.9, that is the very acidic, and there is a 7 here a neutral. The 7 here a neutral, the normal range of the stream of pH. Normal is a expression of pH. The maximum is a 5 to the 1. The acidic rain is a create here, and the main is a batric acid is recorded below pH, and the lemon juice, vinegar, adult fish dye, and fish predators affected. There is an important increasing acidic level here, and the 7 is a neutral. The neutral is the most important normal range of pH as a 7. The 7 is a neutral. There is example of water, they are neutral. There are 7.1 to the 14. There is important for the alkaline, the base here. The base here, the baking soda, seawater, milk of magnesium, ammonia, and the lye. There is the most important here base, and show the pH scale diagram here. The long-term effect of the acid precipitation on human health and agriculture production has not yet been observed suppressively. There is, however, the most consequence of dangerous is because done to the aquatic ecosystem. Below the giving are some of the effect of the acid rain. The ecosystem of stream or lake may be severely affected when it is the pH fall below to the 5. Total biomass in such a system is reduced from 2 to 10 times because a few organisms can tolerate to the acid. The diversity of the species is also decreased. The most serve effect of the acidification on a fish. Acidic is a condition affect the reproductive capability of fish and resulting in a slow decline of the fish production and the fish population. This has been documented in the various parts of the Europe and North America. In Norway, thousands of the lake and stream they have largely lost their fish population over to area of 33,000 square kilometer. There is an important point here. Serval Lake is a estuary in the United States and the Canada has become a biologically distinct during the last quarter century. This process of effect of the acid rain on the forests are not a clear understood evidence, however, to show that it is responsible for the is a dieback which is occurring in the each continent. The forest is a dieback is a gray mass world is achieving all death or decline of the forest even to the buildings and the momentum of began destroying the because acid deposition as accelerated is a erosion a capacity. The acid rain is a serious global problem and its impact can be spread over long distance from to the origin of the pollutant. And that is Scandinavians or countries complain about their British pollution in the Europe, whereas the Canada is a blame United States of Northern America. There is an important point here.